I'm not here in the room. I don't know if you're hearing me.
No, I'm not hearing anything. I was wondering if they were starting.
Amy, it appears the room is on mute.
Okay.
Brad, can you hear us?
I
Now
can
we
hear you
can.
now.
Are you present?
I'm present, but we weren't hearing anything that was said before
I
this.
didn't hear anything up to now.
You know, start the roll call. Actually, if Jackie didn't hear anything.
I didn't hear
Roger, can you-
anything.
Okay, can you start from the top with the notice and everything? Jackie didn't hear anything.
All right. I'd like to call the meeting to order. This is the April 21st Zoning Board of Adjustment meeting, Raritan Township, regular meeting. The notice requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act have been satisfied by the placing of a notice of this meeting on the bulletin board at the municipal building, filing same with the township clerk, and transmitting same to the Hunterdon County Democrat, the Courier News, the Star Ledger, and the Trenton Times. Amy, roll call, please.
Mr. Roger Aaron's,
Here.
Mr. Kevin Cool,
Here.
Miss Cynthia Schaefer,
Here.
Mr. Steve Farcio requested to be excused, Mr. Randy Block,
Here.
Mr. Jim Ferrara requested to be excused, Mr. Brad Perry,
Here,
Mr. Bill Cummins,
Here.
Mr. Russell Damji,
Here.
Board Engineer, Mr. Tony Hajar,
Here.
Board Attorney, Mr. John Drill,
Here, and Jackie, can you hear me? They have a microphone right in front of my face.
Yes, I can hear you.
Landscape Architect, Mr. John Morgan Thomas, Traffic Consultant, Mr. Jay Troutman.
Here.
On behalf of Board Planner, Miss Jessica Caldwell, tonight we have Allison Kopsko.
Here.
Township Assistant Planner, Mr. Jeffrey Vaccarella.
Here.
Board Stenographer, Miss Jackie Clapp.
Here.
Are there any comments?
I'll make a motion to approve the two board members who were requested absence.
I second it. There's a motion to excuse the two absences, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
I have
yes.
Cynthia and then I have Randy. Mr. Roger Aaron's.
Yes.
Mr. Kevin Cool.
Yes.
Miss Cynthia Schaefer.
Yes.
Mr. Randy Block.
Yes.
Mr. Brad Perry.
yes.
Mr. Bill Cummins.
Yes.
Russell Demji.
Yes.
Okay, are there any comments? Announcements? Distribution of correspondence, there is none. Minutes, we have minutes of the April 7th, 2022 closed session. Amy, just one correction. It says Chairwoman Roger Aaron's. I think we should change that to Chairperson. Thank you. Any other corrections? Could I have a motion?
I'll
So
make-
move.
I'll second.
That was Randy,
Yes.
Randy Block.
Randy and Cynthia. Roger Aaron's,
Yes.
Kevin Cool,
Yes.
Cynthia Schaefer,
Yes.
Randy Block,
Yes.
Brad Perry,
Yes.
Bill Cummins,
Yes.
Russell Damji.
Yes.
Okay. There are no resolutions tonight, so we'll move to our first application. BOA case 22-2021, applicant Salim Basha, Basha Abdul Bashir. Location block 6.07, lot 39, 31 Old Croton Road, application C variance, planning variance. This application is going to be carried to May 5th.
Now, my question is to Tony or Amy, what's the situation with the notice?
I think they're revising what they're applying for.
So is this being carried with no need for further notice or just being carried with the need for further notice?
We carried it to tonight without the need for further notice.
Okay, so we are further carrying it to May 5 without the need for further notice.
Okay,
When does the board's time to decide the application expire? It'll be 120 days from when it was deemed complete.
I did not bring the file down with me.
believe we got an extension.
June 30th.
Till June 30th? Okay, then we're fine. Okay,
Okay. Our second case is BOA case number 1-2020.
yeah, but before you do that, can you go to number 4?
Yes.
That's going to be carried also?
Okay. Case number 4 is BOA case 09-2022. Applicant Ronald Vogel, doing business as One Touch Holding LLC, location block 79.11, lots 14, 15, and 16, 207 Old York Road. Application confirming use, non-conforming use certification. And that too will be carried to a date to be determined.
Right, and this one doesn't need notice, so it was scheduled for tonight. He's not ready to go, so this is going to be up to Tony and the board secretary to decide when to schedule. So is anyone here in the room? It doesn't look like it because I actually recognize everyone in the room. And I have a feeling that most people in the room are on the
Second.
third application,
Right.
which is Interstate Outdoor, and there's one person that's going to do double duty and also be here on the second application.
Okay, second application is BOA case 1-2022, 2020. Applicant is 479 Raritan Experiential LLC, location block 36.01, lot 72. 479 Highway 202, application time extension.
Identify yourself for the record, Ms. Weaver.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, Mark Peck with the Florio Perucci Law Firm on behalf of the applicant. Essentially, this board gave us an approval, and pursuant to that approval, we needed to complete construction within 1 year of the issuance of the construction permit. That would have been April 15th of this year. But as a consequence of labor and material shortages that, unfortunately are pretty commonplace these days, there were some delays. The site's actively under construction. We anticipate that work will be completed by the middle of next month, but we are asking for a 3-month extension just to give us a little cushion because you don't know what's going to happen.
I assume board members have driven by and see that it's under construction.
Yes.
Anyone want to make a motion?
Go ahead.
Oh, so moved, Randy Block.
Second, Roger Aaron's.
Mr. Roger Aaron's,
Yes.
Mr. Kevin Cool,
Yes.
Ms. Cynthia Schaefer,
Yes.
Mr. Randy Block,
Yes.
Brad Perry,
Yes.
Bill Clemens,
Yes.
Russell Demji.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Okay. BOA case number 7-2021, applicant Interstate Outdoor Advertising LP, location block 40.04, lot 35, 482 Highway 202, application preliminary and final site plan for D-1 variance for billboard sign.
And Mr. D'Arminio, can you enter your appearance?
Yes, Louis D'Arminio, Price, May, Shulman, and D'Arminio for the applicant.
And before we get started, I just have 2 housekeeping items to take care of. First of all, as the board secretary announced, Allison Kopsko, am I pronouncing your last name the right way?
Kopsko, yes.
Kopsko is filling in for the regular board planning expert, Jessica Caldwell. So in case she testifies or makes any comments about something, I want to get her sworn. So can you raise your right hand? Allison, can you raise your right hand? Do you swear
Yes.
or affirm that the testimony that you may give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Obviously, there's a little delay here. You hear the voice before you see the lips.
Yeah.
Okay. And the second housekeeping item is the transcript of February 17, 2022 has a mistake in it. It lists an exhibit A10 and there is no exhibit A10. and I have figured out what the issue is. It lists an Exhibit A9 as permit package being entered on page 52. Then it lists Exhibit A10 as the New Jersey Department of Transportation permit single on page 55. It should be Exhibit 9, which is the New Jersey Department of Transportation permit package entered into evidence at page 52. And then at page 55, starting on page 54, the witness was explaining by virtue of the permit, blah, blah, blah. And then I said, understood. And there's a period. Everything after that period until Mr. Darminio is speaking should be crossed out. And I'm saying this on the record to correct the transcript on the record, and Jackie obviously will be taking this down in the transcript of the hearing tonight. And then I have one other question. I believe you have some other court reporter on Zoom. Yes or no?
No,
Hmm.
I don't believe so.
Because we have Jackie Clapp. Do you see another court reporter on, Amy?
No, we've been getting the.
Yeah, from Jackie, I know.
The name said court reporter before, but it changed. So I don't know if they're,
Okay. All right, so no
they
problem.
might just be here as a public.
Yeah, it could be, because Jackie is the official court reporter, and her transcripts are the official record of the proceedings. With that, Mr. Dominio,
It just
so the next exhibit to be entered will be Exhibit A10.
is A10. Yes, I have that to
Okay.
be marked. You said that my testimony, my statement should be.
No, my
your
statement.
Oh, okay, good. I think you said.
I said, where it says Mr. Drill understood, period, everything after that until Mr. Dominio
Oh, I
says, in order for the application, I will mark this. Everything I said after understood should be crossed out.
Just for the record, what was marked as A10 was actually part of the permit package. Mr. Gill.
Well, it wasn't marked as A10.
No, it
In other
wasn't
words,
marked as A10, but what.
it was page
was
10.
Discussed as A10 was part of the permit package.
Correct.
It was. Okay, that was the little bit of confusion. I just a bit of housekeeping on my part. I have that there are 6 members who have appeared on all 3 applications.
All 3 hearings, you
All
mean?
3 hearings, yes, unless Mr. Dumgie's read all the transcripts.
Yes, I have.
Yes, and I have his certification here that he signed, that he's read all the transcripts.
Right, so we would have 7 people then for tonight.
Yep, and then I also have Brad. He also caught up with the transcripts. I believe he was not at the one hearing. He read the transcripts and signed the certification.
Yep,
So we're good?
yep. Brad's up there on the screen.
Yep, we're good.
And so we have just 1 member by Zoom?
We have
tonight?
7 members voting,
Okay, and 1 member by Zoom.
6 and then 1, yes.
Okay, thanks. Great, thank you. Okay.
Please let me remind you to talk slowly, talk into the microphone so Jackie can hear you.
And for the board professionals, let's turn these on. One hand mic for that side of the table.
If you guys want to use the microphone from the stand, you can take it out
One
of there.
hand mic for the left-hand side of the table, one hand mic for the right-hand side of the table, and I got the stationary mic. And then Mr. Darminio has the handheld, and the stationary mic will be his witness. And then if there are questions, that is when Mr. Darminio will take the handheld mic and put it back in the stand.
Sounds good.
We are, Mr. Chairman, I think we're ready to go.
Okay. Please proceed.
Again, good evening, everyone. Lou Dorminio for the applicant again. This is Interstate's application to provide a multi-message off-premise sign at the Travelin location. And it's in the O2 Business District. We've had 2 hearings already. One was December 2nd. The other one was
February
February
17th.
17th. Right, so this would be the third hearing. Today, I hope we have some cleanup with Mr. Gerber, who was on the stand last time. Then we have our engineer, Tiago Duarte, a professional engineer, to go with engineering testimony. Then we have a traffic consultant, Mr. Justin Taylor, and then we have maybe we will be able to reach our planner, Mr. McDonough.
Jack, are you hearing everything
I'm
that
sorry,
Mr.
I'm
Dominion is saying?
I'm having a hard time.
I know,
I'm
Mr.
having trouble
Dominion,
getting
you're
the
dropping
names.
off.
I am, but
You're
I'm
dropping off at the end.
Okay, I'm,
No, it has nothing to do with the mic.
it's just my voice is dropping off.
Yeah, your voice is dropping off at the
Then I
end,
will keep it up right through.
right through the end.
Right through to the end. I believe, unless anybody has any questions, there's also Mr. Peck's appearance. Um, There's the objective attorney is also here, Mr. Peck.
That's correct.
You want to
Okay.
enter your appearance?
I will. Do I need the mic?
Yeah,
Pretty loud.
just to make sure.
For the record, Mark Peck with the Florio Prucci Law Firm, here on behalf of 479 Raritan Experiential LLC.
Okay, Mr. Gerber, you've been previously sworn.
Yes.
I think our first exhibits are, first is marked, we're going to mark it as 10A.
A10.
Excuse me, A-10A.
Right. Oh, A-10A.
Yes, I'm sorry, A-10A. It's the tax maps and aerials relating to barley sheep, right?
Yeah, to the Barley Sheaf Road. This is an exhibit that has one cover sheet with one page, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pages.
I'm gonna fix a marker on that, a tab on that, and I believe we had provided that to you, Ms. Fleming.
Okay, is that the one that says?
And you have extras to hand out to everybody?
Raritan Travel and Suites.
Yeah,
Okay, so A10A consists of 6 sheets, is that correct?
Yes, that's the file.
that's correct.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Gerber, I
But
don't
this
believe-
whole packet's A10A. It's not like the first sheet is A10A and the second sheet is A10B. The whole package.
No, we're gonna number each page as it's being discussed.
I apologize if I'm thick. This 6 pages,
Yes,
all 6 pages are in A10A, and then each one's gonna have another number,
That-
A10A1,
that's right.
A10A2.
what we may do is to make it easier as you, or you could just describe it. If
Yeah,
that's
I
too.
think I could just describe the
describe
6
it.
page if that's okay, because
That's fine.
it's a pretty basic exhibit. It was
Yeah, I
really.
know, but the thing's not stapled together. That's the problem. It's held by a
The
clip.
exhibit that's marked is stapled together.
Okay.
So does
Just do
that-
me a favor, number the pages.
Okay, okay. So the first page would be, it's A10A1.
Yeah, right. And let me just ask you, why, I'm just curious, why did it have to be A10A and not like this one's A10 and ABCD?
Yeah,
And then the other one's A11, one?
Because we could do it that way. It's just when we put a package together, the practice has been that the aerials will mark them all 10s. But we could redo it. We can do it any way you want to do it.
Now,
What's the way you want to do it?
Listen, your case, I was just curious, but absolutely number the pages.
okay, so I'll just go through the pages and number them for the exhibit. Cover sheet is A10A1. The next page, which is just a tax map of the Barley Sheaf area, A10A2. I'm sorry, that was Ridge Road. The next one, A10A3, is a tax map.
Do me a favor, hold up when after you mark it, hold it up to make sure everyone has the right order and they're marking
Okay,
the
so
same
this
thing.
is A10A3, which is the tax map showing Barley Sheaf Road. I'm marking as I speak. A10A4 is an aerial photograph
Yep.
that shows Barley Sheaf Road. This is an exhibit that is almost identical to A7A. The difference was 2 things. and this is why we provided at the request of the board requested street addresses for the lots
Right.
that were along Barley Sheep and also the Temple. And also we adjusted from A7A to A10A4, the distance from the residence at the Temple as opposed to the Temple itself, which is 515 feet from the back of the sign, as opposed to 740 from the Temple itself. So that was a corrected exhibit at the request of the board. And then the next exhibit, A10, A5, is, and let me show it to everybody first. This exhibit is a modification, again, at the request of the board, to show the addresses to the homes on Ridge Road as opposed to just the lots and blocks. Everything else is identical. And A10-6A is just it's an exhibit we may have actually had before, but it was part of the package, so it was put in here, which shows the distance to 32 Barley Sheaf Road at 2,290 feet. So that's that exhibit.
And then some of us have, after A10, A6, some of us have, it looks like a couple of duplicate pages. So
Duplicate, yeah.
Those are,
No,
I
they're-
apologize for
they're
any
the way.
confusion
They're
on
along
that.
Ridge Road.
They're all different.
They're
Oh, it's
different.
different, yeah.
Across the street.
Yep.
okay, never mind.
In terms of preparing these exhibits and the distances, just
So I assume the last three sheets, are going to be A10B1, A10B2, A10B3, or are they going to be A11 something?
I don't know what issue.
Here's what we're saying. Attached to our stuff, right? Attached to everyone's stuff are these additional three sheets.
Oh, okay. That's the thing, exhibit is more. I see the exhibit.
Yeah, okay.
I apologize.
That's another reason why everything should be stapled, not
We
just.
don't need to mark this. We just provided these.
Listen, I get it,
We
but
don't need this.
let them figure it out.
We just provided Ridge Road.
Lou, do you want a quick recess to try to figure this out? Let's take a quick recess. So for the record, could you do the same thing with this next exhibit, the exhibit that's going to be A10B, and as I understand it, it's going to be A10B1, A10B2, and A10B3, but can you have someone identify each of those three pages, please?
I'll do that.
Okay.
You got to have a
All right.
stapler.
Okay, so the next exhibit is marked A10B. It consists of 1, 2, 3 pages. First page is A10B1, which is the cover page. Next page is A10B2, which is the tax map showing the Ridge Road area, and A10B3, which is the aerial showing the Ridge Road area. This, I misspoke before, this is the exhibit A10B3 that corrects the exhibit
A7A. A7B, you taking a guess?
A7B, yes. What I referred to before mistakenly, that's why I got confused, is A10-5, A10A5 shows all the properties along Barley Sheep Road with their distances and tax maps. It's essentially an expansion of the, other than the 2 homes that were mentioned when the town engineers did their ride, we did all of the homes along there and showed their distances. So that's what those two exhibits are.
So these, as you've indicated, indicate the addresses and also the distances and the distances would be confirmed by the engineer, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
We were just correcting it to put the street addresses on that was requested by the board.
The ones that are marked, Mr. Gerber, could we just put them in a separate pile?
Sure. That's this and this. Yep.
There was also some additional cleanup that you have some testimony with regard to.
Yes, in the township engineer's letter, and zoning inspector dated November 24th, 2021, there were a number of checklist items that needed to be addressed. Number 29 says a shipping container was in the front portion of the site. This has been removed. However, there is an additional shipping container behind the one-story hotel structure. Please testify to need of a shipping container. Shipping containers are not permitted and shall not be removed. We have discussed this with the property owner. That shipping container has been there since he has owned the property. It's over 20 years. That shipping container is needed for important storage of hotel supplies, extra mattresses, furniture, TVs, dressers, cleaning supplies.
Yeah,
So
put it this way, unless he's got a permit for it, right? It could be there 50 years. There's no adverse possession for a shipping container. So unless he's got a permit for it, someone's gonna have to apply. And it sounds like it's gonna be a use variance to allow it because even,
okay, I will advise the property owner of that. I was just wanting to explain to the board what the
Yeah.
purpose was and why it was, and how long it's been there. If a variance needs to be obtained, then that will have to be
well,
applied.
just tell him. So if he supplies a permit to the zoning officer that shows it got zoning approval, it's fine. But if he doesn't have that, they have no record of it being approved, it's gonna need a variance.
I will duly inform him of it. We'll make sure that gets addressed.
So let's assume for argument's sake that the board approves this application, there'll be a condition in the application before you can pull a permit that thing be removed, unless he gets approval for it.
Okay,
So I'm just putting that out right out front.
fully understood. Thank you. The next item on was the restaurant was operating, this is number 30, I'll just paraphrase. The hotel was, or the restaurant Sinbad was operating outdoor dining. That's no longer taking place, so that issue has been addressed. Number 31, the front portion of the restaurant contains a separate room possibly intended for storage. Township inspection confirmed a sleeping quarter in this space.
Excuse me,
Please
you're gonna have to go slower on that.
I'm sorry, I apologize. I'll start again. The front portion of the restaurant contains a separate room possibly intended for storage. Township inspection confirmed a sleeping quarter in this space. Please testify to the use of this section as no residential use of this building is permitted. This is to be only used as an accessory use to the restaurant. Our property owner advised us that this was not being used as a sleeping quarter. I believe that the township recently conducted an inspection and confirmed that it is not being used as sleeping quarters.
Can you, Jeff, first of all, make sure that's on, and second, identify yourself for the record before you start testifying.
Jeff Vaccarella, Township Assistant Planner. Just for the record, yes, I did a site inspection and it's used for storage.
Okay, so item 31 is resolved?
Yes,
Okay, and is item 30 resolved?
no,
There's no longer outdoor dining taking place at the restaurant.
no, but you didn't continue the comment. There's still plates in the for the steaks. It wasn't properly covered.
Oh, I thought they had been properly removed. We will make sure they get removed. I thought those had been all
Just-
removed.
For the record, and so I understand, just read what's outstanding.
Please remove all steaks and metal plates from the parking area.
Stakes, you
Yeah.
don't mean You mean stakes that held up the tent?
I believe must have been related to the outdoor dining. We'll make sure that they are all removed.
And just for record, one more time, this is their memo dated November what, 2021?
21st
21st.
of 2021.
It says November 21, 2021.
I have November 24th, 2021.
We have November 24th.
Right.
Then we have?
I have November 24th
Okay,
that's the document I'm working on.
okay. We heard you say November 21st.
Oh, if I'm sorry, I misspoke then.
Okay.
Okay, number 32 says, if the white vinyl fence is removed during construction, it shall be repositioned to its original state. That will be, that's not really a checklist on, but yes. 33, a site
So
visit.
what is, yes?
Yes, we'll reposition the fence. 33, a site visit on November 22nd, 2021 confirmed an ATV and go-kart were stored in front of Sinbad Restaurant within a gated area. Outdoor storage is not permitted. Please remove. Please also testify to the fenced area. Zoning permits are required. The ATV and go-kart have been removed. I'm not quite clear on the fenced area zoning permits. I wasn't sure which area that was is being referred to in the letter.
Jeff, please.
It's the area that was previously used for outdoor storage or outdoor dining.
Okay, that's been removed, the fenced in area, right? So,
The fenced in area still remains. So I don't know if they plan on keeping it or removing it.
it was my understanding that they're not planning on doing that, but I will confirm that with the board or with the engineer and let you know.
Okay.
What does your memo say about this fenced in area? I know that they said that whatever was in there has been removed. What does the memo say about the fenced in area? Can they can or cannot have a fenced in area?
They can have it, but if they need to submit a zoning permit and they need to know,
Okay,
you need to
so-
know what it's going to be used
okay,
for.
if they want to keep the fenced in area, they need to apply for an after the fact zoning permit. If they
Or
don't-
just remove it, which is.
Or
like
just
what-
remove it,
Right,
okay?
which we're going to do one or the other, but I think it's going to be removed.
Okay, but for my notes, you're doing one or the other, right? I'm not putting
Well,
down. to
I
the
think
re-
as a condition, either there has to be a zoning permit obtained for it, or the fence has to be removed.
Okay, similar to the shipping container, it needs a variance or removed.
Correct.
Okay. All right, next.
Next is 34. There are several manholes to the east of the Sinbad Restaurant. What is the purpose for having manholes? Is there a septic field on site? Please testify as to what buildings are connected to the septic system and what is connected to the public sewer. The two manholes that are there are for the septic tank and grease trap for the operation of the restaurant.
Okay, Jeff and Tony, is that enough information for you? Or do you want something else?
Are the structures also connected to the sanitary sewer?
I'm only talking about the restaurant. That serves the restaurant. Wasn't talking about the hotel.
Okay, I mean, the question is, so there's a septic field on that side.
That serves the restaurant.
Okay, how about the hotel?
That I didn't know I was supposed to address that. I can get that information to you. I don't know about the status of the hotel.
Okay, because, I mean, part of that question is please testify to what buildings are connected to septic system and what is connected to the public sewer.
Yeah, I thought it was just referring to the restaurant, but I can find out the information regarding the hotel and provide that to the board.
Okay, next.
Okay, 35, wheel stops near the trash enclosure shall be repositioned to the parking area and secured. please see photo. Those have been repositioned. They do occasionally still get moved and then they get repositioned again. So it's kind of, they get moved, cars, trucks hit them, delivery trucks hit them.
Are they staked in with reinforcing bars or are they just lying on the ground?
I believe that they're lying on the ground. I believe that they're reinforced.
Okay, so why don't you send the message that they have to be fixed to the ground by some means?
Okay? Okay, 36, any refuse and dumpsters shall be contained within trash enclosures. That's been addressed.
But Jeff, when you went out there, did you notice the refuse and dumpster situation being appropriately handled?
On occasions, no.
Okay,
So
explain.
for example, today I drove past and there's refuse outside of the dumpster enclosure.
See, okay, so you're saying they're not closing the gate and there's just, or the gate's closed, but there's still some garbage on the outside of the enclosure?
The gate's sometimes open and refuse is just
Okay, so
on the ground.
Jeff, is it a question? Is there not enough capacity in the containers to hold all the refuse? Is that the problem? Or is it just laziness is the problem?
I think it's more or less laziness.
I will address this with the property owner and report back to the board. Clothing bin on site shall be removed.
Well,
or-
what number?
I'm sorry, 37. The clothing bin on site shall be removed or applied for through the township clerk. That bin has been removed.
Hey, Jeff, you confirm that?
Yes.
38, this is the last one that I believe it applies to the checklist items for us, is it appears that the stream contains garbage and concrete. Please remove all debris from the stream. There is a ravine to the, I guess, to the west of the proposed sign location. There is garbage down there. There is concrete down there. That will all be cleaned up as a condition of our, if we get an approval, that will be our condition to get that done. We'll do that.
Jeff, there's also a snow removal. I'm sorry. Yes. Is that just gets moved to the back?
Microphone.
It preferably should be moved to the back.
Okay. Just
Yeah.
asking.
Was it just the plow lane
Yes.
on the ground? It should be inside a building or something. It shouldn't be out.
It's over by the stream.
So can you ask him to add that to his list? Because I don't think he heard.
So there was a snow removal that's
There's a
part.
the plow blade that goes onto the truck. It's being stored outdoors next to the stream.
Okay.
Thank you.
I will add it to our list and so advise the board that we'll address it. That's it.
With regard to that, okay. There was also a request for an updated concept sign.
Yeah, planner asked us to
We're going to mark that as
A11.
A11.
Excellent.
We're gonna hand those out to everybody. This is what A11 is a revised design. The planner at the last meeting indicated that she didn't like the straight up and down support of the sign, so we did a more decorative support. We also enhanced the landscaping around the base of the sign to improve its aesthetics. We also changed the stone design. It's something that we proposed, but again, we're willing to work with the township professionals if that is not something that they would like or something different they prefer.
Right, there was also some addition of landscaping to kind of soften the
Yes.
bottom as well.
Yes, I just mentioned that we enhanced the
Okay.
landscaping in the base, at the base of the sign.
But again, we're flexible as to what.
Correct. We just I just wanted to try to address the planner's concern at our last, hearing.
And also. And also for the record, that travel sign now is, sign is on the.
Correct.
On the stone.
That's correct. That's really all the cleanup items that oh. Another one?
I have another.
Oh. The only other issue that I recall that was outstanding was there was discussion regarding the relative height of our sign in relation to the sign that's being built across the street, and there was some confusion as to my testimony.
Right.
I am having our engineer is going to provide a cross section. He'll testify to it. So that's, I think, the end of my items.
Yep, you may be cross-examined.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Okay, so he's completed his
Okay.
redirect, so.
Yep. Does anyone on the board have any questions of Mr. Gerber? Mr. Gerber, number 10 on Mr. Hajar's list, would you refresh my memory? It's the third item. Ground signage shall be set back at least 10 feet from the right-of-way of Highway 202. This sign is proposed at 6.5 feet where 20 feet is required. And if the engineer is going to answer that question, I'll allow you to allow him to do that. But if you can answer that question, I'd appreciate it.
Why is the sign closer to the road than what's required in terms of setback? Is that the question?
Yes.
As I understand. We try to keep the signs as close to the road as possible for a couple of reasons, and the engineer can give you the details of it, but for two reasons. One, closer the sign is to the road, the lower its elevation can be, because as it gets further back, structures along the side of the road, topography have a greater impact on the sign's visibility. So it allows the sign to be lower. The
You're
sign
going a
now
little
is-
too fast again.
I'm sorry. The sign is now 34 feet to the top of the sign. We've reduced it 5 feet from the 39 proposed height. So by moving it closer, we can keep that elevation down on the sign. It also keeps the impacts of the sign limited to the transportation corridor of Route 202. As you push structures back, they have further impacts or greater impacts. And so it's for those two reasons that we did that.
Are you saying that if you push this sign 3.6 feet more to comply, all that would happen?
Well, no, it's a continuum, right? It's a as you push it. I mean, if
20 feet, 13.5.
13.5. So the setback is 20 feet minimum. The sign right now is at,
6.5 feet.
and to get to 20 feet,
going 13 feet back will have an impact for sure.
okay, I
For
thought-
sure.
And we have testimony from from our traffic engineer in terms of the cone of vision. It impacts the cone of vision. It's better to be forward. It's a sign. The setback requirements, will be discussed also by the planner. But Mr. Gerber gave you his sense from his site experience.
And I'm just reminded, there's also a functional reason. As we push the sign back, we start to impact the parking lot and the vehicles traveling in that lot. So there's a
okay, but
functional
the engineer
purpose.
is going to address it.
Yeah.
Tony, do you recall my question with regard to item number 3 relates to whether or not this is the edge of the electronic billboard that we're talking about or the base of the electronic billboard? In other words, is it the side of the electronic billboard that is within the right of way? Or are we talking about the base itself is within the right of way?
Okay, so
I
you,
believe the whole thing is
well,
within the right.
yeah, but what does that mean? Roger wants to know, in other words, take a look at 811, they just handed out.
Yeah.
As I understand it, A11 hasn't changed the setback of the billboard from the road, correct?
Correct. Nothing's changed
Okay.
other than the support structure.
And again, to repeat, the current setback is what?
20 feet,
The proposed,
6.5.
right. So what portion, what the chairman wants to know is what portion of this sign structure, billboard and base, what portion of it is 6.5 feet from the road?
Correct. It's actually from the setback.
From this,
Yep.
from the right of way.
The right of way, excuse me, right of way.
Mr. Gerber will answer that.
Okay, the engineer will deal with that?
Mr. Gerber could answer.
Oh, okay.
The face of the sign.
So as the chairman said, the closest side of the billboard is 6.5 feet from the property
Correct.
line.
Correct.
Right, I mean, we, as a rule, measure from the nose of the sign, the face of the sign.
Okay, that's what he wanted to know.
The
Yeah,
front
that's
face,
it.
that's correct.
Okay.
Tony, is there a requirement for any kind of letter from the highway department with regard to their going into that right away?
It's not
No,
going into.
we're
the
not in the
right-
right of way.
Okay,
It's,
All outside the right.
but it's within 6.5.
no, it's within, it's the township setback requirement that's
Mhm.
being deviated from. The township setback requirement is that no structure can be closer than 20 feet to the front property line and or road right of way, which in this case is probably the same thing.
Okay.
So it is 6.5 feet from the front property line. So it's not going into that right of way, but it's not 20 feet
Correct.
back from the front property line. So they need a variance to deviate, instead of being 20 feet from the front property line, to be 6.5 feet from the front property line.
Understood.
I don't want to testify. Is that correct?
That's correct. Plus, we would not be allowed to have the sign within state right away. You couldn't even get a permit for that. That's not
Yeah.
legal.
Thank you.
Chairman, just clarity, what exists today there? Is it 6 feet, if I understood correctly, or?
Don't know off the top of my head. Our engineer can answer that question for you. I think it's very close to being the same, but I don't have that number right off the top of my head.
You're talking about edge of pavement? So that's for their engineer.
Okay.
And that might be a separate parking lot setback, might be different than structure setback, but leave it for the engineer.
Any other questions?
I believe Mr. Peck probably has some
Yeah.
questions.
Mr. Peck?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Good evening. At the February hearing, you had indicated that you would perform a drone test so we could get perspectives from second floor
Yeah,
residential windows.
We did do that, and we're gonna have testimony to that. I didn't do it myself. We had someone do it, but yes, that's gonna be handled today.
Okay, great. And if your company was to go out of business, what would happen to the sign?
Well, we've been in business since 1984. It would be an income producing asset that would have value. And I'm not a bankruptcy lawyer, but my assume is that another sign company would take over that sign and operate it, but I'm speculating. I don't know for sure.
Have you built any of this type of sign before?
We have built digital signs before. This type of stone design would be the first one of this nature for us, yes.
Okay. So all the other signs you've done have been just like the digital billboard on a pole?
on a pole, or we've done the digital signage attached to walls. But we've not, this type of base would be the first type of base that we've done.
Okay, who would maintain the landscaping around the
We would
base?
do that.
Okay, and would you post any sort of escrow or bond in case?
If the town required that, we would do that.
And what type of advertisements do you anticipate being run on this particular billboard?
I would anticipate what I would call a G-rated type of advertising on the sign, general commercial advertising, car insurance companies, jewelers, car companies, things of that nature. We have an internal policy of not accepting any inappropriate, what I call inappropriate advertising, gentlemen clubs, things of that nature. We would ask, and I think I mentioned this in my testimony, it's probably 3 days ago now, two meetings ago, that there be a condition put into our approval that would limit the copy in that way. I don't think it's constitutional for boards to impose it, but if we ask for it, then there isn't that same constitutional issue. And I'll repeat that again, that we would ask for that condition to be added to our approval.
How would the sign be controlled? For instance, would somebody be able to hack into it?
We have over 60 digital faces, and there are a number of protocols and protections to ensure that doesn't happen. And it's never happened since we've been operating digital signs.
And if, say, something objectionable, somebody were to get into that, what kind of response time would there be to get
It
the
would be
offended content
literally
down?
seconds to be able to turn it off. So yeah, we could handle that.
And how about messaging made available to the township? And I apologize if you testified. It has
Yeah,
been a
I
while.
did. We did talk
Okay.
about this before, and we said two things. One is that we would guarantee the town one 8-second spot on each side of the face after every alternate digital minute every 64 seconds. So once if you one turn 8 seconds, and then there would be 64 seconds of a message, and then again, and then come back to that. So it'd be once every 2 minutes, I guess is the best way to describe it. And also, signs aren't all the time sold out. Most of the time, they're not. And so if there's unsold available space, we would make that also available to the town for its use for public service. And the emergency messaging would override any messaging on the sign, whether or not it's sold.
Will there be any security systems in place at this sign?
I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Just any cameras if somebody were to tamper with it?
Well, there are cameras.
Like
that
you have sensors or something?
There are,
in
well,
there?
there's a couple things. There's cameras actually on the sign that show, so we can check the message that's being displayed on the sign, as well as the company we use, Watchfire, also monitors the sign. So if there's something with the message that's wrong, we can see it. But typically, if there's something wrong with the message, there's something wrong with the operation of the sign. One of the modules may be out, and we know that almost immediately. We know it. We get notified. Watchfire gets notified, and within seconds, it can be turned off and repaired.
Okay, thank you very much.
Can you repeat that? You said if something, worst case scenario, okay, something happens and it gets hacked. You have the capability, if the only option is to shut it down? Is that true?
We've never had a sign hacked. We have there's layers and layers of protocols. And we've never had one. I know it doesn't answer your question, but I wanted to say, first of all, it's never happened.
Mhm.
But if someone were to hack into it, we would be able to get it turned off very quickly, either remotely if we could do it, or we can get someone. We have signs on 202 further east, and we have signs in the air. We have people constantly repairing our signs. They're the more traditional, older signs, wood structures. There's they're out there. They are able to immediately come to the sign and turn the power off
Yeah,
if need be.
I'm just asking, I'm in IT, so just because you haven't had it happen
I agree
I'm
with
just
you.
asking, do you have the capability, worst case scenario, just to pull the plug?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
And the short answer, yes. I'm sorry for.
That's okay. Thank you.
I have a question for your first answer to Mr. Peck. It was related to if you go bankrupt, and your answer was, somebody will buy me because of the value. What happens if you're not able to sell the property? What would be your obligation with the signs?
Well, our company, first of all, is not bankrupt. We don't have any corporate debt. We've never had any corporate debt. It's not how we operate. And we've been here since 1984, and I was speculating, sir, as to because I don't know what would happen, but I know that this would be an income producing asset and people just don't waste those. So if there was a bankruptcy, either it'd be a reorganization of our company, or if there was a liquidation of our company. In either case, this sign would continue to operate because it's producing revenue. Where the bank, where it's going to be used to pay our debtors or whoever, no one's going to walk away from an income producing asset. That's the best answer I can give you. And frankly, we've never experienced it. And I am giving you my best guess as to how that would play out.
The questions from the general
You're not
public.
you're not a bankruptcy attorney. He's doing this from his own business knowledge. And I'm not either, so I couldn't tell you.
Other questions from the general public?
Yeah, I see
let
one
me-
member of the general public.
Let me remind you that this is questions for this witness, not commentary.
Can you identify yourself for the record?
Paula Ellentuck, 16 Ridge Road. I have lots of questions about the light that's going to be emitted from this sign.
So go
and
nice and slow with all your questions, one question at a time.
I would like to know about the light being emitted from the signs and how it's going to affect everybody on Ridge Road. I know you had the drones on Ridge Road, but it's still going to affect us. It's one thing to have it.
Okay. Chairman said questions only,
Okay.
no comments until the end. So you're already starting to make comments, so you got to just ask the questions. And I'm not speaking for them, but this guy may say, hey, wait till we show you the drone test. We got this expert up there, and then ask the questions to him, because this guy is the CEO and he's a lawyer. He's not the expert, but let's see. Do you want to answer those questions?
I'd like to respond to it. I think I need to respond.
Okay.
We met when we were doing the drone. I believe we met on
Right.
when we were doing the drone test. We have a lighting expert that will answer your question, which is exactly what Mr. Drill said. But I think a combination of how digital signs operate and what the drone test will show you the complete lack of impact of any lighting to the residents on Ridge Road. But that's going to come to testimony from the lighting expert and from our planner who was involved in the drone test, who can then explain that to you.
Okay.
Mr. Gerber, I have one more question for you.
Yes, sir.
And perhaps maybe my fellow board members wonder about this as well. You also do traditional billboard signs, do you not? Not
Yes.
electronic billboard signs?
We have done traditional. We are doing a lot more that almost everything that we do, I would say 90% going forward has been digital and not what we call static, or you refer to as traditional.
Okay, before you ask the question, just remember the advice I gave at the last meeting. My opinion changed between Raritan experiential when I rendered an opinion that the digital aspect needed a separate use variance because of the changing sign. Based on the, I guess, greater knowledge that we all gained and the testimony about when it's going to be instantaneous changes, I rendered an opinion that they don't need a separate use variance for the fact that it's digital. So as far as the use variances before the board, in my opinion, there's no difference between whether it's digital or static with lights on it or digital with, the LEDs.
My question relates to size. Can you
okay.
tell us what is, I'm sure there are different sizes of static signs, but is there a standard static billboard size that is used throughout the industry?
Yeah, the most common throughout the industry, not only in New Jersey, but the country, is a 14-foot high by 48-foot long static. That's the most common. There are others.
That's the most common, static or digital?
That's both,
Both, it's the same.
correct.
And can you explain why did they arrive at 14 by 48?
It has to do with advertising agencies and their need to display messages that they felt they needed the size to be able to do it that would be effective. And that they came across a 14 by 40 as being a standard, and all vinyls. It really started, I think, with national advertising where Coke or Pepsi or GM wanted to advertise across the country. They would design copy to fit a 14 by 48. The advertising agencies presented this to all the outdoor companies. I'm going back now 30, 40 years, and that's how that size got standardized. The 11 by 37 that we're proposing today is, you can take a 14 by 48 message and you can shrink it down and it can work within 11 by 37.
36,
11 by, well, no, 11 by 37.
37?
11 by 36, I'm sorry, 11 by
Yes, I think
36.
it's 36. And that's,
Is it
that's,
11 by 36 or 11 by 37?
11 by 36, I'm sorry, I don't know why it says 37.
and that's a similar ratio to 14 by 48.
Correct.
I think it's sure.
That's correct.
And my follow-up question is there now a standard size that is emerging in the electronic billboard field?
It's still the 14 by 48 digital is the most common.
Okay.
There are 11 by 36s out there. Obviously, we have others, but the 14 by 48 is the most common, particularly on busy roads.
Thank you.
I have a follow-up on that, just curiosity.
Yes,
Are
sir.
there any differences of size, whether it's in a state highway versus?
Versus
federal
like an
highway?
interstate, you're saying? An interstate versus a state highway such as Route 202?
Yeah, on an interstate, you're going to see a lot more 14 by 48 than you're going to see 11 by 36. Not to say you don't.
Then you're going to see a little bit. I didn't hear what you said.
Yeah, then.
Whoa, Mr. D'Arminio,
Yeah,
you know
I'm
what we
sorry.
heard?
Okay.
Maybe I misspeaking a lot tonight for some reason. On an interstate highway such as the Turnpike, I-95, 295, you're going to see way more 14 by 48s. You can still see 14 by 48s on a road like 202 for sure. It's a major transportation corridor, 4-lane roadway. But you don't see 11 by 36s as much on interstate highways. They do exist if they're close to the road. If they're positioned well, they will work, but you're better off on a turnpike type road with the higher speeds with a 14 by 48.
And Mr. Gerber, there actually are larger signs.
There
well,
are
right?
20 by 60s, there are 16 by 60s. But again, those are not as common and not used very often or built very often.
Do you know what the size of the sign across the street is?
I can't hear that. I didn't hear that.
Tony, you're gonna need a microphone.
I'm sorry.
18 by 25.
He's gonna restate it. No, ask the question again for the
Do you
record.
know what size the sign across the street is?
Yeah, I don't remember dimensions. I remember the square footage is about 883 square feet. It's about 100 square feet more than what we're proposing. It is a vertical format as opposed to a horizontal format. It's a much different type of sign. And I have expressed my opinion to the board that the horizontal format is a much more effective way of communicating not only commercial messaging, but public service messaging and emergency messaging, because people tend to read from left to right and not up and down, which is what a vertical format tends to cause your eye to do, which is why it's not a particularly common type of sign. I would say 98% of the signs in this country are more of a horizontal format than they are vertical. In certain very specific limited uses, you'll see a vertical, but it's a very, very rare situation in my experience.
So it's like 17 by 28, something like that? Is that correct?
I have the drawing.
It might, I know I remember it being 880. I don't remember the specific dimensions.
Do you have a drawing from the board file? Can you just give it to me? I'm gonna give it to Tony.
I don't know.
And ironic that the other application was in on an extension, so the files here.
I was going to stand up and object, but I thought that would be bad form. So
Yeah. So Tony, this is not on your personal knowledge, but this is reading off the plan that was approved by the board and they were issued permits under. What is the size of the digital portion of that sign? In other words, I'm not including the base below it and I'm not including any of the stone above it.
There's 25 height on one side, 22 on the other because of the topographic layout.
I'm having difficulty hearing Tony.
You need a microphone, man. I don't even feel like I felt last month. Well, you guys should just keep it on. Jeff, can you get that thing on for him?
25 feet and 22 on the other side.
25 feet high or 25? feet
25 feet high.
by
22 wide?
22 wide?
No, 17 wide.
It's down at the bottom. You can see it. It's in the
Okay, it's
drawings.
25 foot high and what you haven't, it's 25 foot high on the highest side of the
Side.
angle, but
And
the other-
22 on the other side.
Okay. So it's 25 feet high on one side, 22 feet high on the other side. What is the
18
width?
feet width on the bottom
Okay, so I don't want to do
and
this
17 on the top.
because I don't want to do this because I'm not an engineer, but could you please take the average between 22 and 25 and the average between 17 and 18 and give me those figures and then multiply them to get the square foot. I like geometry when I was in high school.
The average in height is 23.5. And the width is 17 and a half.
And now can you multiply 23.5 times 17.5?
411.
Okay, now it has two sides, so if you took 411 times 2, you'd get about
22.
822. But so let's compare one side to one side. So one side of the Raritan experiential is 411 square feet. And let's ask the witness, what is the square footage of one side of your 11 by 36 sign?
It's half of 7, yeah, 396.
11 by 36.
It's 396 square feet. So they're roughly, in square footage, they're roughly the same size.
Well, I had gotten the 883 square feet from the resolution that.
I understand.
And so I don't know, it says a proposed total sign for 883.43.
Well, it
square
sounds
feet.
like the resolution approved something larger than what they went in for the permits for.
I haven't done the calculations, but I'm just getting that off of the resolution.
The township sign was also added to that calculation.
Oh, okay, that's,
We're just talking, right, we're just talking about the digital billboard portion comparing.
got it. It did, when I saw the resolution, it just said total square footage. I assumed that was the advertising area.
Any more questions from Mr. Gerber?
Excuse me.
See, we're at 8:15. Do you want to take a break for 5 minutes for Jackie?
Jackie, you want a 5-minute break?
Sure.
I'd like a 5-minute break.
Like to call the meeting back to order?
Jackie, how you doing?
Okay.
Mr. Domini, are you ready? Okay.
Has this witness been sworn?
Yeah. Yep. If this is their engineer, I swore him in the beginning, and once Mr. Taylor gets here, I swore him in the beginning. The only person I haven't sworn in yet, I believe, is Mr. McDonough, who's hiding out in the back of the room, who's their planner. But I have a feeling he's not going to be testifying tonight anyway, so can wait on him. Amy, you good?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm ready now.
Please.
Well, are we recording?
Yes, we're on.
Yeah, we're
okay.
recording. Could you please introduce your witness?
Yes. Mr. Tiago Duarte, would you please give
Can
the
you,
board-
even though you spelled your name and we got you sworn in, just to keep the record clear, can you spell your first and last name slowly for our board stenographer?
Yes, Tiago Duarte, Tiago, last name Duarte, Duarte.
Okay, very well. Mr. Duarte, would you please give the board the benefit of you've been previously sworn, and would you please give the board the benefit of your personal background and experience?
Yes, I graduated Rutgers University in 2011 with a Bachelor's of Science in Civil Engineering. I've been practicing in the field of civil engineering, specifically land development, since then, so better part of over 10 years. I am licensed in the state of New Jersey, among other states as well, and I have worked on similar outdoor advertising projects. Over those 10 years, I've probably done about 40 or 50 if I had to quantify them.
All right, and your licenses are all up to date, correct?
Correct.
And you've been accepted as an expert engineer by other boards as well, correct?
Correct.
And that's throughout the state of New Jersey, correct?
Yes.
What are your duties and responsibilities in general? And what I'd like to have him accepted as a expert in engineering.
Can you tell us which other boards and other townships you've appeared before?
Sure. I've testified in front, the closest one being Flemington Borough. I've testified there. I've testified in Newark on numerous occasions, Greenbrook, Somerset, Hackensack, Bayonne, all over the state, Point Pleasant.
Okay, we'll accept this.
Let's just see, anyone in the public have any questions on this witness's qualifications? No questions.
We'll accept this witness.
Mr. Duarte, what is your duties and responsibilities in general? Well, first, you indicated you're employed by Dynamic Engineering, correct?
Yes, Dynamic Engineering, business address 50 Park Place in Newark, New Jersey.
Okay, and what is Dynamic?
We are the site civil engineers for the application.
Okay. And you're a New Jersey company, national company?
We're a nationwide company, but both of our offices are in New Jersey.
Great. Okay. What are your duties and responsibilities in general for Dynamic, and what are your duties and responsibilities for this application?
I'm principal at the firm, and also the branch manager of our Newark office.
Can you speak closer to the microphone? Thank you.
I'm a principal at the firm and the branch manager of our Newark office. For this application, I oversaw the survey of the property. I prepared the site plans, coordinated with the applicant and the attorney as far as preparing all the application forms. And I have visited the site on numerous occasions, including attending various bucket tests or visualization tests that we've completed for the application.
Just do me a favor. Pull that microphone closer to you. See, I'm about 3 inches away from it and I can hear my own voice being boomeranged off the back wall.
How's that?
That's good.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry, did I cut you off?
No, no.
Okay. You also prepared various exhibits, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay. First, can you ID the location using, I believe we have a site plan that we pre-marked? Well, no, we haven't marked that site plan yet, actually.
Is
We
this a
haven't.
site plan that's
Yeah.
in the board's package?
Yes, this is the board package. Let's mark it 812 just for
Okay,
reference.
if you want to, you can, but you don't have to. All you have to do is just reference the last revision date on it.
It's just easier if there's any
Okay.
further activity of it to mark it. I'll mark it 812.
Yep.
Just give us the date.
So now, if you're marking it as an exhibit, then go down to the lower right-hand corner, give us the formal title of it, prepared by who, and the date, and the last revision date.
Yes, it's, plan is sheet 3, site plan for the application. It is dated July 26, 2021, last revised August 20th, 2021.
And prepared by who?
By Dynamic Engineering myself.
And who signed it?
I did.
Okay. Jackie, did you get all that?
Yes, I did. Can't hear it now.
You're going to be discussing.
Lou, you need a microphone or Jackie can't hear anything you're saying.
I marked the site plan sheet 812. The entire site plan, though, consists of, what, 4 sheets?
In other words, you mark sheet 3 of the site plans as A12, correct?
Yes.
But the board has the entire.
The
set,
board has the whole set.
Right, and then we could reference that as well, but you're going to be dealing with A3 primarily, page 3 primarily?
Yes. So what A3 depicts is basically the entire property. So that's what's currently developed as the Travel Inn motel. It consists of four buildings, all associated with the motel use, plus one freestanding building, which is the Sinbad restaurant. Majority of the site's fully developed, so we've got a lot of paving, parking, circulation areas, connecting the various buildings and parking up against those various buildings. What the application is before you tonight is the construction of an 11 by 36 digital monument sign. That's going to be located at the northwest corner of the property. There's actually an existing Travel Inn motel sign currently, so it's to the west of the ingress driveway or full movement driveway, the first full movement driveway off of Route 202. So the proposed sign is going to be located just west of that existing sign. And as the testimony you heard earlier from Mr. Gerber is that Travel Inn sign that exists today is actually going to be removed as part of the application.
And relocated, correct?
And relocated onto the proposed monument sign.
The number of faces?
Sign, let's just give some description about the material and what that's made of.
Okay.
The sign is going to be approximately 23 feet tall, is the monument component of it. So it's a a stone facade, 23 feet by 16 feet. And that's where the Travel Inn sign will be mounted. That Travel Inn sign is 5 feet by 10 feet for a 50 square feet total. There'll be 2 of those, one on each side of the monument sign. Above the monument sign, there will be the 11 by 36 digital sign. That area, as we just heard earlier, is 396 square feet per sign face for a total of 792 square feet for the digital component of the sign. The sign has a spread of 30 feet at the rear, meaning the 2 panels that are the digital faces will be angled so they're not directly perpendicular to the road. 30 feet spread at the back, and it's about 6 feet spread at the front.
So it's V-shaped?
V-shaped, correct. The sign is located 6.6 feet from the front property line or the right-of-way line. The monument component of that is set back further. That's actually about 15 feet to that monument stone face. The function of the 6 feet, that's basically what we had. The limitation that existed was here's an existing curbed island. The sign is located within that curbed island. So if I was to pull it back any further than the 6.6 feet, I'd be within the existing driveway circulation aisles and be impact to site circulation. I will add that the DOT doesn't have any requirements as far as how far back these signs have to be set from the right of way. So it does comply with the DOT component for that.
Okay. And you'd indicated the applicable uses are the travel lodge with the associated restaurant, and that's what is presently on the site, correct?
Yes, correct.
I missed that question. Can you repeat, please?
Yes, the existing use on the site is the travel lodge with the associated restaurant, correct?
Yes. And that'll remain under the proposed condition. All we are applying for is the digital sign.
Yeah, there's no changes to that. Okay. Now, at one of the hearings, there was a question of one of the reports. There was a question about an embankment and slopes, and there was going to be a discussion with the township engineer. Have you taken that discussion?
Well, there was a discussion about the impervious coverage within the zone, the O2 zone. There's the allowable impervious coverage is 45%. However, you have to adjust that for the steep slopes that exist on that property. So when we calculated the existing steep slopes, basically what happens is the allowable impervious surface is reduced. So where 45 is permitted in the zone, this specific site, the permitted is 35.6 square feet. I mean, 35.6% coverage. So it's about 10 less than what's allowed in the zone because of that steep slopes that exist. Under existing conditions, it's a non-conforming.
I'm sorry. You said the proposed impervious coverage was what amount?
No, I haven't gotten there yet. 35.6 is the allowable once you adjust it.
He
for
said
the steep slope.
45% is what the ordinance max is, but if it's adjusted due to the steep slope provisions of the ordinance, the max on this site is 35.6%. Am I correct in both of those statements?
Correct.
And now he's going to go to existing, and then he's going to go to proposed. That's my guess.
Yes. So the existing condition is 57.2% coverage. It's 77,847. So that is an existing nonconformity. By removing the travel in sign and all the base, the structure, everything that's associated with that, and constructing the new monument sign with the sign faces for the digital sign above, there is an increase of 22 square feet. So the percentage stays the same, 57.2%, but the square footage would be 77,869.
Yeah, that's going to be, yes. All right. Also, we've done some additional reviews of the site to see if we could remove some impervious coverage. Can you describe that?
Yes, the applicant's gone back and forth with the landlord or property owner a few times, and they've identified an area where the existing impervious surface could be scaled back, where it's not basically being used, so that they'd be okay with it being removed. That area is specifically on the eastern extent of the property at the driveway
Can you
Or-
show that on Exhibit A12?
Could you also repeat that proposed impervious coverage amount? Because I think it's different on the plan.
Yeah, so what's on the plan currently still has the travel in sign. So
Oh,
that number.
what's on the plan currently still has the
Travel in sign.
travel in sign. So, okay, so you're saying if the travel in sign is removed, it's basically a swap out, so you stay at 57.2%.
Percentage wise is the same, yes.
Square footage, what's the difference?
The square footage, well, what's proposed without removing any pavement is a 22 square foot increase. But getting to that point now is at the eastern limits of the property, there's the second driveway just before you reach the end of the property, where there's an existing trash enclosure, and the very end of the parking bank, there's a strip there of pavement that can be removed without impacting site circulation, trash pickup, and removal. So the intent is to remove an additional 60 square feet to offset the increase in impervious coverage. So there would be no increase in impervious coverage under proposed conditions.
There'd be no increase from the existing.
From the existing.
From the existing. Okay. Okay. There was also some questions and the need.
Didn't catch one thing.
Go ahead.
What's the estimate of how much impervious will be removed back there, and what will it take? What will it bring the total impervious on the site to?
It's a 2 foot by 30 foot long strip, so it'd be 60 square feet less. So the proposed impervious coverage would be 809 square feet.
And what percentage would that be?
Would be 57.1%, so a tenth less than existing.
Where's that strip of pavement you're talking about?
It's not depicted on that plan.
So how do we know it's?
Tony, microphone.
Tony, microphone.
Ask us, start again.
How do we know it's?
Because your first question was, where is the strip of pavement shown on the plan? The answer is?
It's not shown on the plan before that.
Second question.
How do we know it's there?
Well, the survey, the site plan that was submitted does show the existing pavement. So it shows basically from the trash enclosure, the edge of pavement goes all the way down to the right of way line. In that area is where we are proposing to remove a 60 square foot notch of existing pavement.
And we'll provide a revised plan as a condition of the approval.
These guys are talking, they want to see, just get an exhibit to show that,
Can you?
you don't have to do it now, obviously, but,
But we'll do that. I mean, we were going to do it as a condition, hopefully, of approval.
well, you can
but
do
we
the
could provide
plan
it.
revision as a condition of approval if
Right.
there's an approval, but just do an exhibit and get it submitted so they can review it before the next hearing date.
We'll do that.
So identify, where it is, and have the dimensions on it and all that. And then I know what they're going to end up asking, so I might as well ask now. They're going to say, okay, that's a great start. Have you asked them if they could remove any other portions?
I think that would be Mr. Gerber's. Mr. Gerber, you've spoken to, may I call Mr.
Why
Gerber?
don't you do this? Why don't you find out the answer, and then you just tell us.
I could have Mr. Gerber testify, but Mr. Gerber walked with the owner, walked the entire site. And the owner believed that this was the only area that was suitable. The other points he believed would impact parking circulation and, his operation.
I hate to ask, I got to ask a question. Sorry. So as you come in the first driveway, and as you, I don't understand what the paved spot is by the tributary or the property line. It doesn't go around, it just stops there. And so that's where I was saying that the snow removal piece was sitting. And so I don't, why is that paved? If I could just understand that.
Can you do us
You
a
know-
favor? This is not usual, but could you get up out of your seat, get that microphone and ask him by pointing on that plan what you're talking about? Because our experts want to see also. Sounds like a very interesting question. So let's walk over there. Just make sure you get him. Yeah, can you give?
I'll shout.
No, no. Give Cynthia a microphone. No, we have a handheld going down to her right now.
Can you hear me?
Tony, can you turn that mic on?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so as you enter here.
Now,
okay,
when you say here, Tony, when she says something like that, put it in engineering terms.
The southern driveway.
Okay,
This side.
okay, right as you stay along the property line, this part right here is paved.
Okay, stop for a second, Tony. Engineering, this part there.
Cynthia, that mic's not on.
Northwest of the two-story building hotel.
Okay,
I didn't get that.
Tony, into a microphone.
Northwest of the two-story building hotel.
See how it just is a paved area here. This is the driveway where it goes around, and this is where you can park in front of the hotel. But this part right here, it
Okay.
just,
This part right there, Tony.
It was what you described, right?
Northwest of the building, of the hotel building.
Yeah.
Thank you.
why, no reason for this paper.
What we're going to do is, it's a good question, and we're going to ask, we did walk the site, and we will ask.
Oh, whoa.
Look, we will ask we have to come back anyway, and we will ask, and Pat, perhaps we could add that to our exhibit.
That is where the shipping.
Whoa, get the,
This one's dead.
give this one back. Can you give this one to Jeff?
I know it was where the shipping container was stored.
That is being removed.
No, it was removed, but it was there for.
Jeff, I don't think that's on either.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll tell you what.
You guys got
Against my
it.
better judgment, take my microphone. Make sure you give it back to me when I talk.
The shipping container that was removed was stored in that area for quite some time.
And that's removed, and that's where the snow
snow
removal
plow,
plow
yeah,
is
remains.
right now. And there's nothing, it's just like a gigantic parking area. So if you could just ask.
Yes, we will, and if we could, we'll include that in the exhibit that you're looking for.
Right, correct, that's right.
Any other site points you would like to make, any other comments with regard to the exhibit?
I guess the only other question was about the embankment itself. I know that was asked, and there was a request for testimony as well. So the existing embankment, and that runs south to north along the western property line. Actually, it comes from offsite, but that's where it exists today. That's actually the south branch of the Raritan River. So it goes north to south until it reaches a head wall. And then from there, it actually crosses beneath Route 202 to get to the north. So as far as construction of the proposed sign, there would be safety fencing to prevent, any construction or activities occurring on that side of the embankment, as well as silt fence and protection to ensure that nothing is impacting that existing embankment and the river beneath it.
Okay, so this is where I have a lot of questions. So called it a head wall? Is that what you called it?
Yeah, it goes into basically a concrete pipe
Okay.
that goes under.
So the other digital sign that's going up across the street, you can see it's under construction. And you can see that the pylons are there. And they are significantly more larger in structure than what you have currently on that Travelodge sign. So my concern is that how do you ensure that your sign, if approved, is one, structurally sound, and two, doesn't impact the tributary as it would go under the highway? So because I looked at it tonight and it's extremely close. And so one, the weight of what this thing's going to be, but also the structure of it, especially after seeing the structure across the street and the size of the pylons.
So how it typically happens is once there's an approval, the applicant will go out and complete geotechnical investigation. So they'll do a boring, they'll get the soil parameters to make sure that the footings that are designed for the sign, which have not been designed yet, will consider all of those aspects. So it'll consider, one, you're clearing that pipe, that concrete pipe that goes under 202 to make sure that there's no impact to that. There'll be associated calculations that verify that it's not going to be disturbed in any way as far as the construction documents go, which will also count for the weight of the sign, the weight of the structure, and any wind loads and associated.
Do you have any concerns? You said it wasn't designed yet. Do you have any concerns based on your experience and expertise that you can design something that will structurally be sound there?
Yes.
In that location?
I do not have any concerns with regards to the structure, the foundation of the structure, impacting that pipe or the embankment.
Can I just ask a quick follow-up? Will you be the one designing the structure? Will someone in your firm be designing the support structures, or will it go out to some subcontractor to do?
No, usually, so in this case, it'd be a structural engineer that would be retained to prepare that.
Right, not from your firm. You're gonna
It would-
retain
yeah.
a structural engineer to do all that.
Correct.
So Tony, the question I have is that, again, it's so close. Is the state of New Jersey or the county concerned at all? Or are there anything we have to be concerned with? Or is it, we find the structural engineer and everybody signs off?
Usually we review the structural analysis before it gets to the building department. We review basically their analysis and we make sure it's
So it's just
structurally
the-
sound.
I can tell you.
It's just the township, no?
So
No, not the state. It's just us. And then it goes to the construction department.
So, Mr. Darminio.
Yes.
I don't know if you personally represent some of the cell providers, but I know people at your firm like Greg Meese
Yes.
do. And are you, I'm not gonna testify, but the board might recall, you've been doing a lot of co-locations and a lot of swap outs, but before that, you did a lot of monopoles. You guys had conditions in those monopole resolutions to have all the stuff submitted. And not only did the township engineer, would he review it, he had the right under those things to go to a structural engineer, and Frank H. Lair from East Orange gets retained each year. He's not listed on the agenda because he rarely, if ever, testifies. But it's Jerry Adelson and Richard Adelson, who are structural engineers, and Tony farms that stuff out to them. They review it before Tony signs off, before it goes
Is
to
that
the
the
building
standard
department.
process? Would that be the process for this?
Well, we would agree to that. I mean, we would just have to post probably more escrow.
Correct.
We
Because I
were
assume-
actually going to would recommend that. I mean, we want to make you comfortable. We'll make
Because-
sure it works.
We're calling, Ms. Schaefer is calling the thing a pylon. What would you call the round steel support structure on the sign? What's the engineering term for it?
The above ground or below ground?
First above and then when it goes below.
So below ground is typically a caisson.
It's going to be a caisson footing,
Typically,
which is typical, just like most of the cell towers are caissons. Can you explain how do you drill a caisson footing and then what? I mean, I don't want to testify.
Sure.
But I've heard a lot of these cell tower applications.
So during construction, they'll bring out a drilling rig. It'll have a large auger on it.
An auger is like a huge drill bit,
Correct.
maybe 5 feet, 6 feet, 7 feet across.
Probably larger. I would say probably be in the order of 8 for this type of sign. Again, no calculations have been done yet, so that's just a frame of reference. So they'll drill down whatever the depth of the sign that's required.
And again, the depth of the sign required is going to be determined by soil borings and an analysis.
Yes, by the structural engineer.
And so what Ms. Schaefer is going to ask is, if it has to go down below, are you confident that if it has to go down below the elevation of whatever that pipe is that crosses the road, will it interfere with it? Will there be enough separation between it? Who is going to look at that?
The structural engineer will confirm that, but just looking at the site plan and where the sign's located and where the pipe exists, I think, in my opinion, there's enough separation there.
And how many feet separation would you estimate it is looking at your site plan? I hope you don't mind that I'm taking over your questions.
Go for it.
Because this is what you wanted to know, right?
Yes.
So where that caisson would potentially be is about 30 feet from that pipe. So it's quite a ways.
Okay, so then, worst case scenario, if who owns, I don't know what you call it, head wall that goes under 202, and what happens if it gets damaged?
I mean, that's.
I know.
It's going to happen, but I guess doesn't the
I mean, I'm just saying it
NJDOT, I believe the NJDOT would have.
That's on private property. It is on private
Oh, that's
property,
on
right?
private
Looking at the
property?
plan, so I'm assuming it's
You're saying that according to the site plan, the head wall is on the
Private
subject
property.
property. So the owner of the property
is
is going to be
responsible.
responsible because that head wall is not in the right of way. The head wall's on the private property.
I'm looking at the risk of damaging 202. That's
Yeah.
all.
Okay.
But
we do have liability insurance. The contractor would have liability insurance. I mean, it would be covered. And I don't
mean,
think so.
Again, this is not on the same level of catastrophe, but that's what the contractor said at Newark Airport before the pile driver severed the main electric going into the thing and shut the airport down.
Just for the board's comfort, this is a relatively low sign. It's 34 feet. I mean, I've done them 120 feet, 100 feet in the air. And so this is, in terms of
Well,
the
actually, that's a good
engineer-
question to ask the engineer. Can you estimate
Yeah.
how deep the caisson would have to be, assuming
Because that's the.
normal soil conditions?
It's tough to say without knowing the soil conditions, but I would say for a sign of this type, it's probably 15 feet,
Yeah.
probably
So,
less.
so here's my concern is
15
what
feet,
you,
he
what
said.
you have today, and correct me if I'm wrong, what you have today is minimal of what's going there. And the travel lodge sign today doesn't go underground, right?
Well, it should have footings. I haven't inspected it, but typically
all
the
right.
sign.
Put it this way, the travel lodge footing would probably be below the frost line, but can you imagine the travel lodge footing going below 5 feet below the ground?
It's unlikely.
Right.
I'm just saying, this is bad timing. Seeing this here and seeing what's going on across the street, it's very significant, and I just have some concerns. So thank you for answering my questions.
Move on. Any other comments with regard to the site plan? Any other points you'd like to make with regard to that?
No, I can move on to the next exhibit.
Okay. Why don't we, there was a request for an exhibit to, and Mr. Gerber referenced it with regard to the various elevations of the proposed sign with the sign that's being constructed. And we had Mr. Duarte do that as a cross-section. So that's going to be the next exhibit. It's the cross-section.
Before we do that, Mr. Duarte, I have a question for you. You testified about maximum impervious coverage, and this is the O2 business office zone. And Jessica Caldwell, who is our planning expert, does a wonderful write-up before each one of our hearings. And back on November the 29th, Ms. Caldwell indicated that the maximum impervious coverage in this zone is 45 feet. She then mentioned that the existing was 57.1. You had mentioned 57.2. And she said it was 77,847 square feet. Then under proposed, she says 51.17% is the proposed coverage at 77,939 feet. You had mentioned that there would be no increase in existing. So you're telling us that the impervious coverage under the proposed would be 57.2. Is that correct?
Under proposed, it would be less than existing. So
Less
the,
than,
so the 77,847 square feet, that's what's existing today.
Yep.
What we are proposing would be,
Before you do this, can you remind the chairman that your testimony was based on removing a sign which is not removed on the plan? And so that Jessica Caldwell, I assume, put her figures together from what was on the plan.
right.
Is that correct? Is my recollection correct? You said to get it down to that same 57.2, you were going to remove the travel lodge sign, but right now the travel lodge sign is on the plan. Is that right?
correct, yes.
Could that explain the difference in the numbers?
Yes, I think so.
And also there was additional macadam being removed.
Correct. So for the next hearing, we'll provide an exhibit that clarifies that.
Okay, but just to verify, you're saying proposed is going to be 57.2%. Is that correct? Under the proposed?
No. Ready?
0.1.
57.1%. I'm just reading from my notes. I'm not testifying. If they remove a 2-foot by 30-foot strip, which consists of 60 square feet, then the chair asked, well, there's this other area, and everyone went up there, looked at the plan, and then they said they're going to look at this additional area and might be able to get the impervious down lower. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay,
I'm just not the chair.
Oh, not the chair, our former chair,
yes.
who obviously, since she's not chair, has a lot more time to read the plans, I'll tell you that. We've been commenting very sharp.
All right, so what you're saying is the proposed is going to be 57.17?
No.
57.2?
57.1.
Okay.
Or less. If they come, that's why we asked them to do the exhibit, so there'd be no confusion about it. Because right now, quite frankly, we don't know. This is what they are going to try to do. Is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Wright, you were charged with preparing another exhibit. We're going to mark that as a 13. Do you have a copy of that on your board there?
Yes.
And do you have copies for the members of the board?
I do.
And their professional.
I think I have the original too.
So for purposes of our board stenographer in the record, A11 is titled Route 202 elevation section, and it's, pardon me, A13, thank you. Look at that, I wrote the wrong number on it. A13 is titled Route 202 elevation section and is dated April 21, 2022. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
Jackie, you got it?
Yes.
Okay.
So with the exhibit, basically to address the question that came up at the last meeting about the comparison of the heights between the proposed sign and the sign that's currently under construction across the street, the Raritan experiential sign. We prepared a section exhibit. So basically we sliced a grade line on Route 202. So that's if you're looking at the profile view, the black line that's labeled Route 202 existing grade is basically the elevations on 202 as you're going east to west in front of the property. So it's not on the property line. It's actually in the road. And we used NOA LiDAR data, which is just nationally available topographic info to grab that, because our site survey, the limits ended just basically at the curb line. So we went just a little further to give it reference. And then we have our sign and the sign that's currently under construction. That's on the left of that profile view. Our sign's in the center. So what we're showing is that the current sign, which is under construction, the approved height there is 204 feet overall. So that the base of that sign is at 157. Our sign, which is, the base elevation is 142.5 with an overall height equaling 176.5. And that's based off the 34-foot per overall height that we're proposed. So the difference between the top of the two signs is actually 27.5 feet.
Now you're also showing in the dimension other aspects of the signs, correct?
Yes, correct.
That also is to scale?
It is all, yes, all to scale. So on the sign across the street, there's a block planter that spans, which is larger than the sign. So that's why there's a rectangle there, just to clarify that the sign is within a raised planter. Our sign also to scale, the planter is smaller. So that's what the rectangle down at the bottom of our sign is.
I'm not hearing you. You'll have to say that again.
Can you repeat that?
Yes, so the proposed sign, our proposed sign has also a planter, which is depicted as a rectangle at the base of the sign.
Our sign, is that showing the 30-foot rear of the sign?
It is, yes. So the view is, you're looking at the rear of the sign.
So the section is you're looking across from our sign.
You're looking south to north across 202.
Mr. Dwart, I've got a question for you.
Sure.
I realize you're not an expert in your competitor's sign. You've given us the elevations, extremely helpful. That was one of the things that I had asked for. My question relates to the distance from the road. Again, your sign is much closer to the road. Do you have any idea? And I realize, again, you're not an expert on the other people's sign, but can you tell us how far that is from the highway?
That I don't have in front of me.
Sign, microphone.
It's 20 feet.
20 feet. So
Correct. It
that
complies.
Okay, so that does fall within the township's requirement.
That's correct.
Can I ask another question?
But, okay, I'll go ahead, please.
I need you to, the exhibit you just gave, and I don't know what exhibit this is, so I'm going to hold it up and show it to you. Okay? So this is the exhibit that you gave us, or that was presented, where your sign is 34 feet high.
A11, that exhibit.
What exhibit number is that?
A11.
A11. Okay. If you look at the exhibit, and where the top of your sign is compared to the top of their sign, okay? And then you look at what you just sent us, what provided to us. And it looks like the top of your sign is 1/3 or 2/3 down from the top of their sign. So the visuals to me don't match. I don't, and you can come up and look at these. So you're saying that the top of your sign is at 175 and the top of their sign is at 205, which would be significant. And if you looked at this, I think you would visually see it, and I don't.
I thought you guys were gonna do an exhibit similar to A11, but having their sign shown on their side of the road. And do you have one of those
But we've
exhibits?
already had that exhibit. We marked it.
No. Do you have that exhibit with you
Yeah,
tonight?
but it was with a different design, but we had it.
I want to see.
We have an exhibit A. Let me see. We have it. We did show that. I mean, it had a different design, but we.
I suggest that you take the thing out, even though it's a different design, because
That's,
what exhibit
That's
number is
this-
that?
you,
Hold on first, hold on. for a second.
sorry, I'm not,
Did you print this out or?
if you look at this, okay? Visually, okay. Now look at this. You see what I'm saying?
Oh,
Okay, okay. You want to see it?
You have an exhibit number?
I think Amy said it was A11.
No.
No, previous one.
What is it?
A6A.
A6A. Hold on, let's get A6A out.
Yeah.
I got it, but
Yeah.
but visually I'm looking at this and it's like, what am I looking at?
I agree.
Yeah. Well, first, that was 39 feet, not 34.
No,
I-
no, no.
That,
No, I got the one with 34 feet.
okay, but what we showed,
Yeah.
there's one with 34 feet? We
So,
did. Oh, we did one with 34. That's A6B. You're right.
okay,
That's A6B.
A6B.
Yes.
So if you look at that,
Take a look.
That's perspective. I mean, yeah, but that's perspective. This is in the distance. They're not the same.
so.
They don't line up. I mean, that's, wait,
Can I
let.
come down, John?
Hmm?
Can I come down?
You
Yep.
do the numbers. right?
Yeah, can you give Ms. Schaefer a microphone? Sure. Go over there with her, because before you start talking at the table, Jackie told me tonight, on my ride out here, if anyone comes down and starts looking at plans on the floor or at the table, make sure they have a
Say
microphone.
here we go.
Jackie, they're at the table.
All right, so if I look at A6A, I think it is, okay? And I'm looking visual,
I think it's A6B is the
B.
34.
okay, yeah, 34 feet. And I'm looking at it visually, okay? So you're saying that's 34, and I'm looking at this. You just handed out this item, so, and I'm sorry, this is now A13. So all I really did was take the bottom of the page and line it up and say, wow, that doesn't look visually the same. You're coming out like down here. And so I'm just saying, to me, what am I missing?
It's a,
You would
Right.
think that this line would be down here visually. And that's what I'm
Well,
saying.
well, let him answer. Let him answer, because you could see it
Right.
on the
The
plan.
engineer has to answer this
Engineer has
question.
to answer. Go ahead.
Not anyone
So-
else, not their attorney, not the
So
chief
it-
executive officer. The engineer has to answer this question.
so in A6B, the experiential sign, which is on the right side of the page, is much further down the road. So you're getting a different perspective. So the sign that's closer to you will appear larger. And that's what's throwing off the scale there, where it should, I agree, you would think it would line up in the center of the experiential sign based on the exhibit I just circulated. But
Okay.
it's a 3D view where this is a 2D view.
But also, Mr. Duarte, doesn't the road change? I mean, the road changes in elevation too, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. The 202 is
Well,
getting,
that's what I'm expecting. I'm expecting this sign to be much higher. Yes, this one looks bigger because we're closer in the picture, but I'm expecting this to be much higher.
She's expecting which to be much higher?
I'm sorry,
Which sign?
experiential sign.
experiential. is supposed to be much higher, and that would map to what I'm looking at that you just passed out.
Mr.
And-
I'm sorry.
No,
I
that's
interrupted you.
okay,
I'm
that's
sorry,
okay.
I interrupted you.
May I make one comment? Or
Okay, if you, I mean,
I mean, we could show it the other way around. I
You know
mean,
what?
If you wanted.
that
you
would probably
wanted
be a
to.
good idea because that would be a very good idea, Mr. Dominio.
I guess we can
That
do
would
that. if
probably
you would
help
like it,
matters.
Okay, can we do that'll be a
If we're
promise?
coming back, that would be
Yeah, that would be
fine.
fine.
I
Let's
don't
do
want to
that.
hold this up.
Okay.
Thank you.
But I do want to ask Mr. Duarte, you did the scale, you did the numbers based on your review of the experiential sign and our sign, and that reflects those heights and the varied distances, correct?
Yes, correct. It
Okay.
does.
Thank you.
I have a quick question.
Well, microphone. You don't understand something. People in the room can hear the two of us. Guess who can't? Jackie. That's the key.
Quick question on A13. How far back into the hotel is that elevation to the right?
Elevation,
Sorry, I don't understand. You understand that question?
I don't, is it the Route 202 existing grade sign?
It says
line?
Route 202 grade. Is that the end of Route 202 or it goes further back?
No, it's the fast lane, and so the northbound lane, the northbound lane.
So station, what's your last station?
107 plus 00.
107 plus 00. Where's that compared to Route 202?
It follows the profile, the aerial view below it. So that station, you just follow it down the page.
I clarify that the photo below is
Has the
lined
stations.
up with the.
It actually
with
doesn't.
It doesn't, I
It
don't see
doesn't
it.
because the photo below is longer than, in other words, your station 100 plus 00 doesn't extend all the way out to the left-hand side of that photo.
But the key thing is the sign. The sign's lined up. That's the key.
So what you're saying is that the photo is larger than the scale, but if you draw lines directly under the station numbers, that's where they'll be on the road. Is that correct? I'm asking the engineer.
Yes, that's correct. And it is labeled in the aerial. It's hard to see, I understand. I'm also looking at the reduced copy. So that's.
Oh, look at that, Tony.
00.
He has, it's labeled in black on top of the pavement in
Oh,
black. If they labeled it in white, we would have been able to see it.
Yeah, okay.
We didn't see that. We just saw that right now when you said
Okay.
that.
I didn't either.
So the other thing you're saying is that as you travel on Route 202, from the right-hand side of the page to the left-hand side of the page, the elevation of Route 202 is going up. Is that correct?
Correct.
Since no one's asking you any question,
Oh,
I
okay.
just say, keep on going.
Oh, okay. Any other description or comments with regard to A13?
No.
Okay. All right, now we've brought a module for the board to take a look at. Let's mark that. And did you make copies of pictures of the module? Okay, we've brought a sample module section. We can't really mark that.
Correct.
So we took pictures.
Yeah, that's
Which
the
you
best.
could
So,
have for
right,
the
so-
record, and we could put
Right.
that out.
We're going to use the module as a demonstrative exhibit, which you're going to take back with you as long as you have photographs of it and people can compare the photographs to the module so that they can then, when they look at that photograph, they'll have in their mind the module. But the
we could-
photograph of the module, I assume, is going to be marked as exhibit A14.
Yes.
And the photo of the module consists of 2 pages stapled together, which is a very good thing. Yeah. Kudos to her and tell her I said that.
Also, I can give you this. I mean, we could pass out the module. I mean, that's the idea.
Yeah, correct. Start it on the left-hand side and let everyone pass it down to the right. So Jackie, A14 is a digital photograph of a module.
Mr. Duarte, A14 consists of two pages. I think your board, excuse me, your office actually took this picture, I believe.
Yes.
Can you just describe what the 2 pages indicate and relate that to the module that's being passed around?
Sure. So the first picture of A14 is a picture of the module. That is what would represent the sign face, or a segment of the sign face that would ultimately be affixed to the steel structure to create the digital sign. And the second picture is the profile view of that. So you're looking at it so that you can see the thickness of the module, as well as your horizontal louvers that separate each of the diode rows.
Okay.
So the diodes that make up basically the images when illuminated in different patterns create what's generating the image. So you got your red, blue, and green diodes. So those are in any combination can create billions of colors. When they're all on, it'll be an all white copy. Basically, it's just a magnified or enlarged version of a cell phone.
Okay. Why don't we say for a second, really thinking about it, we should have probably done a third picture because there's a rear to this as well, correct? And why don't you describe for the record what the rear is and what the purpose and how does that function?
Is anyone going to see the rear if you have a V-shaped sign?
No,
No.
no, the purpose of it is just to understand how it functions.
Ah, got it.
Okay.
So the rear of the module is where all the connections would occur. So the module will be affixed to the steel structure, anchored to the sign, and then it would be wired in the rear from within the sign face. So there's a cabinet where all those modules are affixed to, and that is how they'll be illuminated. Is a rear electrical cabinet in the sign face.
So the wires are all within the cabinet.
Correct. Yes.
And these are interchangeable, correct?
Yeah. So if for whatever reason one of these gets damaged, they can be replaced. You just unscrew it from the structure and pop a new one in.
So what is this, like a 12-inch by 12-inch module?
Correct. Yes.
And so your testimony is the entire sign face is made up by 12-inch by 12-inch modules that are affixed to the surface. So if any one module goes, you can pull it out and put a replacement in. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
All right. You described one element of it. First, how is this copy changed?
So as you heard in the earlier testimony, the images are all broadcast digitally to the structure. So there'll be a wireless connection, and that'll be within the processor or computer unit that's in the sign structure, and then that'll tell the various modules what to display.
Okay. Then you also mentioned the louvers, and what is the purpose of the louvers?
So
Can you pass that module back? I didn't look for the louvers. Keep on going.
So the louvers are the horizontal slats that separate the various rows of the digital of the diodes. Basically, with that, the purpose of that, and they are always horizontal, is to directionalize the image that's being displayed, and that ensures that all the light is emitted perpendicular to that face.
Did you say that the louvers are horizontal?
They're horizontal. Is
So like
the correct
this?
orientation.
Yeah.
No, like this.
Yeah.
Hard to see from here.
They're supposed to be horizontal.
Hmm.
As it goes to the, oh, yes.
If you rotate it, it'll be vertical, but
I understand.
It's installed as a,
But this is mounted with the louvers being horizontal.
correct.
What's the purpose of the louvers?
It's to directionalize the image that's being displayed.
I didn't get that answer.
He said, can you?
It's to directionalize the image or the light that's being emitted,
But it would,
because we
it would
want
direct it either up or down.
straight
not-
out. The louvers are preventing it from going up or down.
Right, but so it's not preventing it from going side to side, just up and down.
Correct.
Okay, got it.
And what are some of the benefits of the louvers?
As I just mentioned, yeah, it's basically two directionalized, so nothing goes up and down. So when you compare it to a conventional or a formerly conventional billboard, which would have an uplight or a downlight, that light tends to glow hot or brighter in one area, and then you get some scattered light that goes to the various corners of the sign and even beyond the sign face, where with the louvers and with the digital, it's crisper, it's digital, it's directionalized to the intended target, which is the traffic on Route 202.
Indeed, the sides of the face, in terms of visualization, you lose that, like, is it a television? And how would that work?
Yes, it's very similar to television. If you look at it from a very wide angle, you're going to lose the image, so it'll appear black as you're looking at it from the side. If you're at it perpendicular, you wouldn't see anything coming off of that sign face.
Now, there are some controls over that lighting, some adjustments. I believe Mr. Gerber mentioned it, but can you describe it?
Yes, so the industry standard.
Well, first, in terms of how it adjusts to
sorry.
to lighting.
So each digital billboard will have a lighting sensor as part of the cabinet that gets installed that controls the sign faces. And that's continuously monitoring the ambient lighting levels so that the sign is never too bright for whatever condition it is, daytime, overcast, nighttime. It'll constantly hold the same value over that ambient condition.
Okay, and we're going to have an exhibit that demonstrates that, correct?
Yes, correct.
I have a question on that.
Yeah.
And there was a concern from the public related to the emission and the brightness.
Sure.
Can you please explain in layperson's term, how would that be affected with what you're suggesting?
That'll be my next exhibit.
Why don't we do the next exhibit?
Okay.
Before you go there, a question. Can I assume these panels are considered dummy panels, that there's no programming within the panels? All the programming is done and then the light just shines whatever the program is. These panels are really just dummy lights, right?
Yes, correct. It's
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can I have 2 minutes to just change the paper?
Yes, sure. It's 9:26. You want to come back at 9:30? Give her 4 minutes?
Yes. Take a break for 4 minutes. Start up again, please.
Jackie, you good?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Amy, we recording?
Oh, there it is.
There it
Yeah.
is. You guys were talking about marking in Exhibit 815. Let's ask the witness, did you prepare Exhibit 815?
I did, yes.
So can you identify it for the record?
Yes, it's entitled Lighting Exhibit. The date on that is July 26, 2021.
Oh, this was submitted into the record, I believe, but you know what, let's just mark it just in case. We already have one. This is new. See, the one you just handed out is dated July 26, 2021 with no revision date. The one he has a revision date.
that was submitted. It's been revised.
Oh, I did, look, microphone.
This one has been revised. It will mark the date. Do you have the revision date on this, Tiago? The lighting exhibit?
I can add a date. The one on the screen is the one that we just submitted, I thought.
Yeah, we submitted this, it was, requested ahead of time. I guess it was last week.
Oh, was this thing submitted to you last week, or is this in the file a long time ago?
The one that I got on the screen is submitted last week, but there's no revision date on that one either.
All right,
Grab
so
that
let's-
microphone,
let's-
Jeff.
Let's
Jeff.
revise it.
Hold on for a second. Grab the microphone. I understand. Jeff, grab that microphone. The one that's in the file, okay, is also dated July 26th, the one that's been in there for months.
Yes.
And it's got no revision date. The one that you submitted has the same date with no revision
It
date.
should have had a revision date.
Right, so let's put the revision date on this exhibit A15.
On the exhibit. Let's put it right on, and would you put it on that? I'm sorry, we should have done that.
I'll use today's date, 4/21.
Okay, so we're gonna add a revision date, 4/21, and can you email for the file?
We have.
No.
With the revision date.
With the revision date.
Yes. We will do that.
Okay, and he can have it typed in. It doesn't have to be handwritten in, just to keep things straight.
I'm sorry, we should have put the revision date on it. All right, can you describe what this exhibit is for the record?
Yes, so what is shown, basically aerial map of the subject site outlined in white. The proposed billboard location is the same as submitted on the site plan and aerial map plan that was filed with the application. But what this plan also shows is a yellow ring. That yellow ring is representative of the 0.3 foot candle limits that the sign has an impact on. So the yellow lines basically show the areas that will have a change in the lighting when compared to the ambient level because of the sign structure. The digital sign.
We missed the last part. Will reflect the change in ambient level by,
The limits of the ambient lighting change associated with the digital sign.
So is this 0.3 foot candle higher than the ambient?
At the yellow limits, yes.
okay. It's 0.3 foot candles higher than the ambient.
Now, that is taken with an all-white board, correct?
Yes, it's taken with an all-white board, and it's also a function of the sign size. So a 14 by 48 that was referred to earlier, that would have a larger ring. As depicted on what was circulated, the limit for this, so the furthest away that 0.3 foot candle can reach is the 187.4 feet.
So if it was a larger sign, it'd be like 250.
Correct, it would be much larger.
Just
All
to
right.
cut to the chase on this, again, the experience is from the other application that the board had. In the other application, the board asked them, I assume they're going to ask you, so I'm just going to ask you right now. They wanted to know, oh, this is great, but what will people see from the houses on Ridge? What will people see from, the other area? And on their sign, they had an exhibit showing how far out the thing would go and the angle and all that. Do you have an exhibit like that, hopefully?
We have a drone that shows what can be seen. The importance here is that it's that in
The
terms of
drone shows what can be seen during the day. They had an exhibit showing at night, basically.
all we can do with that would be to take a picture of another sign, similar sign at night. But that sign would be set at 0.3 above ambient.
Listen, we understand that.
Okay.
The question that the members of the public are going to ask and the board's going to ask is, if I live at, and they're going to say, point out which house it is,
Okay.
and I'm on my second floor, and I'm looking out the window at 10 o'clock,
But
what
we've
will
got-
I see?
We got pictures for that. That's the drone operated pictures. And we have.
Oh, you did that at night also?
We didn't do it at night, but it wouldn't matter. We'll have the drone
As
operator.
long as you
talk
have
about it.
someone that can testify
We'll
about that.
testify. I
okay.
mean, I'm testifying here. I don't want to.
Yeah, I know.
But if
Okay.
you're saying that, is there a concern about night? I'll talk to Mr. McDonough and the drone operator, and we'll discuss that. We'll deal with that issue. Okay. But we do have someone else. What this is the parabola, and this shows really the limits of the, well, what would it show? Limits of the
it's
impact,
impact,
really.
correct.
It's the impact, based
Beyond
on.
that ring,
So I have a follow-up question on that. The impact, as a layperson, what does this mean? 0.3 looms and
Sure, so.
at night specifically?
Right.
Yeah.
So what this shows basically is that outside of that yellow ring, the light levels on that property will not be changed because of the sign.
Okay, so if it's, so you're saying that 0.3 foot candles above ambient is noticeable to the eye, and you're saying anything less than 0.3, like a 0.2 or a 0.1 is not noticeable to the eye?
No. What I'm saying is beyond the distance, so 187.4 feet. Beyond that, so if you're at 189, then this sign will not impact the ambient light levels on that property.
Okay, I thought you said at 187.4, you said that that's the limit of 0.3 foot candles above ambient, correct?
Correct.
If I'm at 190, how many foot candles above ambient am I at?
0.
So it goes from 0.3 to 0 over the line.
Correct.
So that's what you have to explain why that is.
But describe a foot candle. I mean, what?
So a foot candle is the measure of one candle at a foot.
They know that, right?
So at 0.3, if you dropped your car keys, say in a parking lot, and it had a 0.3, you would struggle to locate those keys.
I thought you said it's 0.3. You said it's 0.3?
0.3.
It's the same thing. It's not 0.03.
0.3. It says 0. Sometimes that gets mixed up on the record in our experience that it comes out to be 3. So that's why we say 0.
Okay. But explain why, if I'm at 187.4 feet at 0.3 foot candles over ambient, and I step 2 inches beyond that, and I am now 187.6. Explain why it goes from 0.3 foot candles above ambient to 0 and not to like 0.25 or something.
You just confused it, Jonathan. Repeat that. You just really
Okay.
confused it.
All right, I'm sorry, Jackie. I'm gonna try it again. Please, what I'm having trouble understanding is the following. If at 187.4 feet from the sign face, I will see or experience 0.3 foot candles above the ambient light level, is it your testimony that if I go from 187.4 feet to 187.6 feet, okay, away from the sign face, it will drop from 0.3 foot candles above the ambient light level to 0 and not 0.2 or 0.25? Is that the testimony? And if so, explain to me why, because I don't understand.
So the industry standard is the 0.3, so that's why we do the 0.3.
That's not what I asked you. I
So
said,
yes, there could be a 0.2.
So I'm saying, so at what, how many feet away from the sign face does it go to 0 foot candles above ambient?
I could confirm that. I actually don't have that, but it would be measurable.
Okay, so the 0.3 is the sign industry standard for doing it.
Correct.
But what if the board doesn't want somebody, what if the board is going to want to know how many feet away from the sign face till you can't tell the difference between ambient light and the sign? That's what they're going to want to know.
Sure.
And all right, and that you're going to look at that, and that I believe is the 0.3, but you take a look at that. That's the
He
question.
said, what he said was that that's the industry standard is the 0.3. He said you would still notice, if it went down to 0.2, you would still notice that it's above ambient. We want to
But
know
then
how many feet away it goes to 0.
Okay, let's look at that. We could probably get that from the manufacturer as to what it is.
Is
And-
that 0.3 at ground level or 5 feet above or what?
It's measured from the center of the sign. So this is at,
Because that was my
It'd
next,
be 20
those
29
were-
feet.
those are my next
Sorry?
questions.
it'd be 29 feet.
29 feet.
Yeah, those are the next questions, okay? The first is that this is at all white. The typical billboard, what, is actually, it's like a third of that. I mean, it has copy, right?
Correct. So the limit, this parabola, the limits that are shown, it is a conservative value because again, it's based on an all white copy. And if you had an all white copy, it wouldn't be a very effective.
If you had an all white copy, you wouldn't have any copy.
Right.
So, right, all right. So
So
but that's
that's
important.
why, that's why the members of the public are going to be asking about the houses on the second floor.
Okay, all right, but, and then if it's on the ground, it also dissipates, right?
It does, yeah. So at ground level at this height, I would say there wouldn't be any impact over 0.1 within that 0.3. So it'd be
And one of the reasons for that would presumably be the horizontal baffles, correct?
correct. Yes.
Is there a way for you to do a light study?
We've actually done post installations. So other projects, the sign becomes active. We actually go back out there and compare ambient reading to a copy on reading. And we always come up with less than what the industry standard is. So there's a way to test it post construction, if that was the question.
And also, why did the industry pick 0.3 foot candles above ambient as their standard?
It was based on the engineering illuminating engineering society. They basically provide recommendations for light levels in all different applications. And it was based on that the 0.3 was established.
I just have.
John, microphone.
What accounts for the two different shapes that are indicated on the plan?
So the property to the west is currently wooded. So that parabola has been trimmed to account for those trees, which are above the 34-foot height of the sign. So basically within that area, within that tree cover, there wouldn't be any light level because it'd be all blocked by those trees.
Okay. And my second question is, what makes this measurement or this depiction different than what we would see on foot candle levels shown on, say,
a site plan.
a highway
Right.
sign? Excuse me,
Parking lot.
roadway lighting, a typical, photometric pattern.
So the difference is that like an area light is intended just to be an area light, where as a changeable message, you can have a lot of blues, you can have a lot of purples. So that's going to change what the reading is. So that's why the conservative limit is to do it as an all white because it'll show the worst case scenario.
That kind of wasn't my question. I guess it was a question about the height of this. So if we get a foot candle measurement on a typical plan, it's showing the foot candle level at the ground. This is different.
But you don't have louvers, right?
No, okay. I'm not testifying for him, but tell me if I'm at least in the right ballpark. What John Thomas is asking is, what's the purpose on a site plan lighting plan? What's the purpose of showing the light levels on the ground versus what's the purpose of showing the light levels at 39 feet on your drawing? What's the two purposes?
Well, an area light is intended to illuminate a certain specific area. So parking lot, you want to know what that reading is at the ground.
In other words, the light illuminating a parking lot, for example, is face down.
Correct.
And so what the engineers are focused on is the levels on the ground and to see if they will go over the property line to their neighbor and at what point it gets to zero at the property line. Am I somewhat right?
You are, yes.
And the purpose of this exhibit is to show at the maximum height of the sign with the light going, instead of down going out so people in cars can see it, what impact would it have on anyone not in the car who might be either in a commercial or a residential structure in the neighborhood? Is that correct?
Yes.
And then the last question is, why is the measurement different? Why is the measurement of the light in the parking lot in foot candles, but this measurement's not in foot candles? This measurement is showing how many foot candles above ambient light. That's what his ultimate question is.
Yeah, so again, the area light, that's set at a value, so that doesn't change. Where this is showing you the footprint of an area that could change.
Okay, I think that answers my question, but this really has nothing to do with visibility. It's level. I mean, once you get past that 187, it doesn't mean the sign disappears.
Correct.
You still see an illuminated sign, correct?
Right, but you have no impact on you. There's no feel on it.
Well, what is that? And then that would be my question. What does no impact mean?
Correct. That you're going to need an expert. There's going to be two different issues that they're going to ask about. One is it safe for drivers, which is going to be an easier one for you. The other one is, are people in the houses from the second floor is going to see it, and are they going to be bothered by it? Those are the two you're going to have to deal with. That's what we dealt with in the other application. Just so you know.
That's what we'll have to deal with.
I have a related question to the two questions that have been asked. I'm looking at your diagram, and basically, if I'm a guest at the travel lodge, and I'm in one of the rooms on the second floor, and I have my blinds open, and of course, the sign is like this, so I can't see either side of the sign. I'm behind the sign. But you're telling me that if there were a power failure at the travel lodge and your sign went out, I would notice no difference in the light because I'm outside the parabola that you have here. So I would not notice that the sign was out. I wouldn't be able to tell whether the sign was illuminated or not illuminated. Is that correct?
You would not see the sign yet, correct?
No, you would see the sign. You wouldn't see the light.
You wouldn't
what
see
you're saying.
the light or the
That's
image.
your testimony.
Correct.
Right.
You wouldn't see the image that's coming
We
off
need
that
the
sign.
explanation to why that is, because it's hard. It's hard to. wrap
So
your mind
again,
around.
if you hold up your cell phone and you're looking at it perpendicular, which the majority of the rooms would have that view of the sign.
Oh, he's specifically talking about from the rooms.
Yes.
That's why.
That's
right. Okay. All right. I get
So
it.
you're looking at it perpendicular, and yeah, you would not be able to see the light coming off.
You wouldn't notice that there was a blackout. It would be no difference between when the sign was illuminated and not illuminated.
Correct.
Thank you.
I think we're nearing the witching hour. I have a couple more questions, and then there's course examination. That's right. So are there any more questions about this exhibit? Just have a few more questions, and then
Any
before
questions
we go.
from our expert
hold on,
witnesses?
is
Any
he
more
done?
No,
questions
no,
from the
he's not
board?
done. I have some more questions
Okay,
of
so
him.
don't
This
even, don't
exhibit.
ask them. Just have,
Let's go.
if they're not interrupting you, just keep on going.
All right, all right.
Until
I
he's
just want
done
to
or
make
they
sure I
interrupt
don't
you.
cut, I want to make sure.
I mean,
I don't
look,
cut
I'm a
anybody
major
off.
interrupter myself, but I'm telling you.
I know, I was going to
If
say.
you have a gap, just
So,
shoot through the
right.
gap.
That's so I could make sure you don't ask another question, I guess. All right, look, during Mr. Gerber's testimony, there were several questions with regard to confirming various distances, and there were several exhibits that needed to be confirmed. I think they were the sevens.
Yes,
The distances, 7A and B, 8E, 8, and then 10.
Yeah, so to confirm, we did verify all the dimensions that were previously depicted in the exhibits that were circulated.
And you were at each of the bucket tests, correct? And there's
Yes.
several of them, right?
Yes, I've attended 3 to date, including some in the summer, some in the winter, and in the spring.
Okay. And you've looked at all the pictures that was provided by Mr. Gerber, and you've had your own view of those, correct?
I did, yes.
Okay. Overall, you've traversed the entire surrounding neighborhood?
I have.
Okay. And overall, do you have an opinion as to the view shed and the impact of that potential view shed?
Yeah, so just based on being on site and being in the surrounding area during those tests, I can confirm that there won't be any impact or any visual
Or any substantial?
Yeah, visual impact. Again, being on site through the 3 different seasons, the winter one being the worst case for impacting neighbors, that even in the winter with no leaves, no foliage, I couldn't see a substantial impact.
Okay. Are there any
I just want to clarify, all was done at the daytime, not at night.
Daytime tests, yes.
Are there any, what about site plan concerns? Are there any site plan concerns with a typical billboard, 1, and then 2, especially with a digital?
No site plan concerns.
There's no generation of traffic, right?
No traffic, no. Everything's done remotely. If anything, you're visiting the site quarterly, if that, just to make sure everything's operational, or if there's an emergency to repair something.
Right, this takes up a small portion of the lot and is tucked out of the way?
Correct, it is.
And one of the reasons why it's put where it is towards the roadway is not to interfere with any of the circulation. I think that's indicated on your exhibit, your cross-section exhibit. You could see the aerial and where pushing it back would be a problem, correct?
Yeah, pushing it back would be a problem. And again, being the nature of what's being proposed, you want to be as close to that property line as possible.
And the footprint has no drainage, stormwater issues. There's no sewer. There's nothing that is typically related to a site plan.
Correct.
There's no traditional site plan concerns.
Correct.
So from a site plan review, this.
You're gonna have to slow down a little.
From a site plan review, then this really has no issues, correct?
No issues, in my
Okay.
opinion.
Now, I know we could do this at another time, but there were several engineer reports and you've reviewed them. I think Mr. Gerber went through some of the issues. Are there any real outstanding issues? I mean, the engineers could ask you, but is there anything that you'd want to address at this time?
No, there were some items that required testimony. I did hit those, and then any changes to the plan, we do agree to comply with and revise as necessary.
Jeff? Yeah, we're at
This
10
would be the
o'clock too.
perfect time before cross-examination to end it, because it's 5 of 10 and the board ends at 10. Now, if you saw me walking back and forth with the board secretary and the township engineer, we're trying to find a date. So I'm gonna ask the board. I don't want anyone to get mad or to kill me or anything, but because I know that the next available date is in July, and I don't know, but I'd be bet that Mr. Dominio is going to ask for a special meeting, and then I'm going to assume the board's going to say, well, when could we do that? All the experts, when could we do that? There's a 5th Thursday in June. So the board right now meets first Thursday in June, June 2, second meeting in June, June 16. You're meeting twice a month. Every one of those meetings is filled up with applications, but maybe you give them, if you're willing to do a special meeting on the 5th Thursday, you give them June 30th, and then the first Tuesday in July is July 7. The first Thursday, I'm sorry, and there's nothing scheduled on that one, so maybe right now, so maybe you give them June 30th and July 7, because if they can't finish this thing in 2 whole 3-hour sessions, something has gone wrong.
All right, how about if we poll the board?
Because I can tell you that the professionals, without asking them, unless they're on vacation, okay, no one has a scheduled meeting the 5th day of any month.
Yeah. How about if we poll the board?
Yeah.
Amy?
Who is in favor of holding a special meeting?
Who's willing?
Raise your hand if
Who's
you are
willing to show
willing
up?
to hold a special meeting.
1, 2, 3, 4. Peer pressure 5.
Brad,
I would like to know if the applicant thinks they need more than 3 hours at the 7th, July 7th meeting.
Well, can I tell you, listen,
You don't know.
on some of these large applications, the board has chosen not to vote. Let's assume they finish on June 30th. A lot of times, board members say, I want a couple days to think about it. Plus, Mr. Peck has told me, so am I letting anything out of the bag? Mr. Peck has said that he's bringing a planning expert to testify in opposition to the application. So in my humble opinion, there's no way this thing is going to get to a vote on the next 3-hour session.
The only thing I would ask is that we've done this prior, and then the applicant was not able to join, not able to attend, which means we wasted a scheduled meeting. So if we're going to have a special meeting, we just like the commitment from everyone that,
Yeah,
so let them.
I believe everybody's available. Okay. And that's the June 30th date. Yes.
June 30th and July 7th. Well, let's play that by ear. The whole meeting on June 30th, maybe not the whole meeting on July 7th.
We have some non-conforming certificates, just in case.
Okay, we have some non-conforming certificates that don't need notice that we can
Okay.
throw in
If
if they finish up in some miracle, on June 30th, then you actually vote also.
So we could schedule those for the 7/7.
Yeah, I can let them know.
Let them know,
Right.
and then let this applicant go first, and then
Yeah.
if they finish,
That's a
We
good
have-
idea.
okay.
John, should we ask Jackie if she's available?
That'd be a good idea too. Jackie, you available?
I'm available.
She says yes.
Mr. Arminio,
Yes.
one additional thing. Would you be kind enough, when you bring your other things that you're going to prepare, please bring a summary of the variances that you're requesting so that all of us can see those? Some of them are noted on Jessica Caldwell's write-up, but I'd appreciate if you could bring a summary of those.
Yes, well, as a matter of fact, may I run that by Mr. Joe?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Can
because
I
I think
just-
some of them have been eliminated. Some of them have been eliminated over the course
Okay,
of
that's
time.
what I'd like to
We,
know.
we, Jeff, I have a listing of what I thought Jeff provided.
Yeah.
Is this,
that's their package. Initial revision.
There might have been the addendum of what we might have done. No, I'm not
I
sure.
think it's your,
That might be yours.
someone asked you, and it says Mr. Jeff Vaccarella.
In any event, right now, the applicant has extended the time within which the board has to act to May 31. So let's get an extension to, August 30th, just in case.
All right, it's extended to August 30th.
Okay.
And again, this matter,
So
the
we should
hearing
ask them to do it
on this
now.
application is going to be
Okay.
continued without need for further notice to both June 30th and July 7th.
Okay, that's terrific. Thank you. That was from our office, and we had compiled that from all the other reports. So, but we'll do another one. We'll do.
Right, and if you could provide that to us in advance, that would be really helpful.
We'll try to do that
Thank you.
within the next couple of weeks, I hope.
Great.
Thank you, everybody.
Okey-dokey.
Thank you.
10 o'clock. 10:10.
Can I hear a motion? Sure. Second? So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone vote no?